Zing Zong Chan, the dog meat general, boys. Oh, ladies and boys, girls, Creoles, archaic products, you, see, demon creature, the princess, the lector, the prisoner of the world, or, got you, and I think I had this. Wow. I, I can't tell if I botched the intro or did the intro good. Anyways, we're back on Simonillo Academy doing Zig Zog Chang, the dog meat general. But yeah, anyways, let's get into it. Before that, make sure you check out Simonillo Academy. I'll put the link to his channel in the box below, and I'll put the link to the videos in the box below also. If you want to check out the commentary, and if you're new, you know the content in the commentary. Do me a favor, hit like button if you're new. Stick around. Read the website, subscribe to the Mafia. But yeah, anyways, let's get into it. Zing Zong Chan, the dog meat general.
Hey kids, today I've got another character study for you all, a
Okay,
man known as Zhang Zhengshang. In
good for
1881,
him.
he was born into poverty in the Shandong region of China. His father was a head shaver, not a barber mind you. If a
Oh,
head shaver's a barber, then a ditch digger's an architect. He
good for
also
them.
moonlit as an alcoholic. His mom, meanwhile, was a literal practicing witch and exorcist, already
Ooh.
a recipe for success. Zhang joined a group of roving bandits at age 20, as one does, right around the Xinhai Revolution, where the Qing dynasty was overthrown and the
Oh,
Republic of China was established. But in 1916, the kidneys of the nation's widely disliked monarchist leader done shat the bed, causing a power vacuum that ultimately led to what is known as the warlord era of the Republic. During this
ooh.
time, different regions of China were constantly shifting hands between a collection of separate military groups, all of whom were ruthless both to each other and to the people they ruled over. And through charisma, favors to the right people, and a keen sense of military pragmatism, our humble highwayman soon came to be one of these warlords. Now, Zhang was quite skilled as a leader of war. After the Russian Civil War, he recruited thousands of fleeing white Russians, not beverages, but Bolshevik butchers, which bolstered his battalions and brought big bonuses to his bloodshed. He also
Ooh.
made efficient use of armored trains, which proved to be highly
I'm getting like Choo Choo Charles flashbacks right now. This give me great. This give me like huge Choo Choo Charles flashbacks. And Thomas the Tank Engine from Tomska flashbacks. Like, like I'm getting PTSD.
cost effective at transporting large amounts of troops and supplies. But that's not what you people care about. You want some clownage. Well, rest
Yeah.
assured, Zhang was quite the character. Now,
Oh,
we all know the age-old debate between positive and negative reinforcement. On the one hand, if you treat people well, you'll probably get the same treatment back
these guys are true homies right here.
later down the line. But on the other hand, nobody's ever taught a tiger to jump through flaming hoops with just pets and temptations. And if you think that's messed up, that's because, well, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Circuses are fucking evil. But like all great
Fair.
leaders, Zhang knew how to appropriately apply both the carrot and the stick. As an example of the former, he defeated the forces of enemy general Wu Peifu largely by convincing members of his army to defect, with the promise that they could keep their original rank after switching sides, which he
Ooh.
fulfilled. But then he was like, yeah, I don't know if my loyal men would be too happy about being outranked by strangers. Well, only one solution here. All my guys are ranking up. Problem was,
Nice.
so many officers were promoted that Zhang literally ran out of gold and silver to make new insignias. He was like, I gotta think about this. Went out for a smoke, looked down, hey, wait a minute, and had the rest of the emblems made out of the colorful foil found in cigarette packages. It said that during the promotion ceremony, people would look down and notice their little star already had a rip in it before the event was even over. But hey, there's still a colonel or poobah or whatever now. They can't
True. I mean, they got their promotion, so I'm gonna complain. Probably a pay increase too.
complain. On another occasion, he proudly announced that he would either win an upcoming battle or return home in his coffin. And though Zhang was many things, he was not a liar. So after he ended up retreating, his men paraded him through the streets in a casket while he waved and sheafed on a cigar. So you're probably wondering why they
God, that's such a power play. So he lost a battle. He got scared. He ran away. So he was a man of his word, and he prayed around a city that he controlled in a coffin that was his size. He was just puffing a cigar, waving to the people watching as this entire thing was happening. I guess he technically didn't lie. He did return home in his coffin. He was still alive though, so
called him the dog meat general. At this point, my head was swimming with lurid fantasies about him eating dog flesh, or wearing dog flesh, or eating dog flesh.
Oh.
Turns out, nah, he was just real into Pai Gow, of which the act of playing was colloquially referred to as eating dog meat.
What?
And also because he ate dogs. He was also
Oh.
sometimes jokingly referred to as the three don't knows, since he didn't know how much money he had, how many concubines he had,
What?
or how many men were in his army. Well, funny,
That seems all three of those seem like good information to know. Like knowing how much money you have is probably good, so you know you have enough to pay your men, so you don't defect or revolt against you. Knowing how many wives you have is good, so you know, so you can at least keep track of like anniversaries, that type of stuff. Because there's nothing worse than having a bunch of angry women at you, because you forgot you forgot to take them out to dinner or whatever. And not knowing how many men you don't have is also a problem. Because if you go to a war and you have like 10,000 men, but your buddy over there or your enemy, whatever, has like 40,000, you're gonna get fucked.
there was some truth to the nickname, which did sometimes cause issues. Some were minor. For one, he had a lot of trouble remembering the names of the 30 to 50 women of all nationalities in his harem, but he got around this by just assigning them numbers. Number 4 is real flexible,
Oh.
27 makes a killer quiche,
Damn.
watch out for 14, she's a biter,
Oh.
and so forth. Other times, things got a little more dire. Later in his career, Zhang became the military governor of the province of Shandong, and while the warlord life suited him, domestic affairs were another story. Rampant human rights violations aside, the whole thing was just way poorly managed. For example, while Zhang did collect taxes on everything from theater performances to tobacco examination licenses, relatively little of his extortions went towards his war efforts or anything practical, with most of it being funneled into vanity projects and his own personal riches. So how did he fund his army? Well, for those playing at home, it's time to take a shot, because Zhang printed tens of millions of dollars worth of paper money in the form of military stamps with
That's
no
called
reserve to back
inflation.
them up. Obviously, massive inflation ensued, but Zhang just said no, insisted the stamps had a 1-to-1 conversion with real money, and continued paying his men at the same rate.
That's not how that
Fortunately
works.
for them, the invisible hand of the market is no match for the very visible fist of the soldier, because they just kick old merchant ladies' asses till they accepted the currency at face value. But unfortunately, kicking old ladies' asses
That's
can't solve
sad.
everything. In the summer of 1927, Shandong was hit with a famine caused primarily by drought. At the time, many people prayed to Zhongxian, a folk deity, in an attempt to bring rain to these crusty lands. But Zhang Zhongxiang, he don't get on his knees for nobody. He walked right up to the statue in Xian's temple, starts bitch slapping it, tells it to
Bruh.
go fornicate with its sister, and then
Bruh.
has his artillery crew fire shells straight
Bro, that's like 3 red flags. That's bruh. So you go into a highly religious city or town, whatever, and you go up to a statue of their deity, and you spit its face, you slap it around, you tell it to go fornicate with its sister and all that type of shit. And you start tempting it with gunfire into the sky. Are you stupid? Like, dude, that's like 3 or 4 red flags right there. That's how karma comes around and kicks your ass, man.
into the sky for hours on end to show that god who he's dealing with. Sources differ on when the next rain was, but it did eventually rain, so in the end, Zheng Shang got the last laugh. Speaking of which, our boy
Eventually.
was also a renowned poet. Here's a piece
He's trying to take on his poet.
he wrote about that
poem.
very event. The sky god is also named Zhang. Why does he make life hard for me? If it doesn't
Can't
rain
you
in
spit
3
on his
days,
face, you
I'll
slapped
demolish your
him.
temple. Then I'll have
You swore
cannons
at him, he
bombard
shot
your
him in the
mom.
sky.
Truly prophetic. He's got a few other good ones too. Let me just dim the lights real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. This one's called Visiting Mount Tai. From afar, Mount Tai looks blackish, narrow on top and wide at the bottom. If you flipped it upside down, it would be narrow at the bottom and wide on top. I
Oh.
like that one a lot, because it's like he heard about metaphors without realizing they're supposed to have a second meaning. This
True.
one's titled Poem About Bastards. You tell me to do this, he tells me to do that. You are all bastards, go fuck your mother.
Damn.
Poignant. But unlike most poets besides
Deep.
E. E. Cummings and Emily Dickinson, Zhang was quite well endowed. He was often referred to as General 86, as when Zhang Jr. stood up straight, he
Oh.
could reportedly reach the length of 86 Mexican silver dollars stacked atop one another.
Dang.
Given a thickness of 2.4 millimeters, this would put him at around 20.6 centimeters
Holy
or
crap.
8.1 inches.
That's not bad.
It's especially impressive given that he was likely malnourished during puberty due to both poverty and the 1896 famine. You
Fair.
racist. I thought of a few other jokes about this, but I couldn't fit them in the narrative, so I'll just rattle them off. himself. Should have been called the horse meat general when he got out of the pool.
Oh,
He was
why
General
the horse
12.
meat
This
general?
one just says Dong Hung Dong. You get the point. But all great things must eventually come to an end. After suffering a series of defeats at the hands of his enemies and a subsequent failed rebellion against a quickly reunifying China, Zhang was forced to run away in 1928, bringing his mom with him to Beppu, Japan.
Oh,
His
okay,
time here
cool.
was relatively uneventful, except for when he shot a former prince in the back for trying it on with one of his concubines.
What the
In
fuck?
court, he said the gun just happened to go off while he was pointing it at the center of the guy's mask. For some reason, they're like, nothing suspicious here. Gave
Makes
him the
sense.
choice between 15 days in prison or a $150 fine. He chose the latter. Zhang's story finally came to an end in 1932 when he went back to Shandong.
Why?
Not
Why
as
would
a
he go
conqueror,
back?
but as a visitor. Unfortunately, it seems it takes people more than 4 years to get over murder, because he was unceremoniously assassinated by the nephew of an officer that he had executed. All in all, Zhang
Makes
left
sense.
behind quite a strange legacy. Given the litany of horrible crimes that I've seemed to kind of gloss over, he's generally regarded as the stinkiest stain of an already messy portion of the tapestry that is Chinese history. The only remaining question is if one can truly separate the art from the artist. During his rule, Time magazine described him as China's basest warlord. I'll let you decide.
Oh, wait, what? China's basest warlord? So was he base? What? I can't tell. He had some base moments, like when he was like when he was doing like the poems. His poems pretty good. I like his poems. Yeah, his mountain poem really brought a tear to my eye. What else did he do? He apparently had a massive penis. That's pretty cool. Good for him. I can also relate. That's about all. That's all. That's about it. Like that's. Otherwise, he's a pretty shitty scumbag who caused a bunch of inflation, which led to his men beating up old women and shopkeepers because inflation causes the decrease of value of his payments.
Whether or not
Currency.
they forgot the DE. That's all for today. Till next time, I'm Salmonella, and I'm hiding in your fridge.
What? Sam, get out of my fridge. Didn't answer. I'm actually too scared to actually go and check. I'm afraid if I open up, there's gonna be a stick figure in my fridge. We're just gonna ignore that. We're just gonna ignore that. I don't want any part whatever. You can stay in there, Sam. Anyways, if you guys like the content of the commentary, do your favorite, hit the button. If you're new, stick around. Do me to subscribe on Android, search Mafia. Make sure you check out Sam Manila in the description below. And make sure you check out this video without my commentary in the description below also. Guys, how's there? Peace.
Go build on myself so I can truly build. Hey.